Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Texoma Cattleman here on 95.7 FM, 1420 AM, The Warrior, sponsored by Fan and Ag Products. We appreciate their sponsorship and allowing us to do this program on the Warrior station. Appreciate the Warrior for allowing us to do this program, and also appreciate you, the listener, for tuning in this week with us. Those loyal listeners that we have that tune in each week, we appreciate your loyalness to us, and hope that you continue to enjoy the programs. Those of you that are new this week, this program, Texoma Cattleman, we talk beef cattle management, forage management on this program, and provide you with research-based information to help you with your management decisions on your property. My name is Cody Maxwell, Fannin County Agriculture Extension Agent with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and we're proud to come to you. We're proud to be here for you to help you out in your agriculture endeavors. And if there's anything that we can do to help you out here in Fannin County, my phone number is 903-583-7453. If you may be listening and you might be from another county, if you will simply Google your county and then put AgriLife at the end of it, then it should be the first link that pops up. You can click on that, click on the contact tab on their county's website, and that'll take you to your county agents within your county. But we're happy to help you out here any way that we can in Fannin County. We're going to get right into our program this week. Over the last few weeks, about a month ago, we kind of focused on our forages. We talked about insect pests. We talked about forage analysis when it comes to testing our hay. And last week, those of you that have been listening regularly know that we concluded our sample, taking in our samples for our hay show last Wednesday. We talked about hay sampling on this program a couple of times over the last month. And last week, we dove into talking about supplementing our cattle with feeding strategies to meet their nutritional requirements that they have with that hay that they're consuming out there. I want to transition a little bit this week and kind of move away from our traditional beef cattle management, forage management part of this show. As we move into fall, we're moving into a time of the year now when people are fixing to start weaning calves or have already weaned calves, depending on what time of the year that they calve. Those spring calving herds that started calving February and calve through April, they'll be weaning here in about the next month or so. But as people begin to wean calves, hopefully they're pregnancy testing those cows. And doing proper management strategies that if those cows aren't bred, that they're culling those cows, because keeping a cow around that's not bred in a year like we had last year, 2018, in a year like we're going into 2019 as we come into this year in a hay shortage. We've been making hay throughout this year. However, having no carryover hay started us out at zilch going into this year, which is not a good situation to be in. It's led our hay prices to be just a little bit higher than some might like to have this year. So I say that to say if a cow comes up open, she's going to cost you just just looking at average situations here in the county. She's going to run you probably somewhere between $300 to $400 if you're doing things by the book. You know, if you're vaccinating, if you're managing your pastures properly, weed control, fertilization. Fertilization is probably going to increase that price a little bit if you're including that in your annual cow cost. But things like that, vaccinating our cattle, labor costs that we may have, equipment costs, all of those things should go into that annual cow cost, depending on how you like to set your cow cost. But based on the average across all the operations here in the county, we're going to be somewhere between $300 to $400 to keep that cow around. Well, if you're doing things by the book there again, and it's going to be a topic in the near upcoming future when we talk about weaning calves on this program, we talk about different weaning strategies and we talk about vaccination protocols when weaning those calves. But when you're doing those things and you're doing them properly, you're going to hear here in a little bit from Dr. Blake Bennett about the cattle market. You've been hearing about it over the last couple of weeks, but if you're doing things right, you're hopefully going to be on a weaned calf, heifers, steers, averaging about $800 a head this year. And that's if you're doing things, by the book. If you have a backgrounding program, if you're doing the vaccination protocols, that's about what you're going to be looking at with things that we've gone through this year and that we continue to go through in this cattle market. That only leaves you somewhere between a $400 to $500 profit, roughly speaking, depending on your input cost. So if that cow's costing you $300 to $400, she's costing you money to keep her around if she's not putting you a calf on the ground. So, big lead-in right there, 4 minute lead-in to get into our topic for today. When we're culling cows, when we set our culling strategies in place to maintain our stocking rates on these places, to maintain that input, or to maintain those profits coming in that we've got to have to be able to handle our input costs, we've got to maintain a certain number of animals on our property to be able to do so. So I say all that to say this. On today's program, we're going to talk about considerations when purchasing breeding beef cattle. This is probably going to be a for sure 2-week series. Most things that we've been talking about here on the Texoma Cattleman as here of late have been 2-week series, and I think this week will for sure be a 2-week series as well. And what my plan is when we close this series out, that we move right into our weaning programs and hopefully catch you about 2 weeks before you start weaning to give you some considerations there. But today, when purchasing breeding beef cattle, we want to set some objectives before we get into this. Number 1, determine what breed of cattle are suited for your operation. Number 2, determine what age of cattle work for your situation. Number 3, determine how to improve your genetics. Number 4, determine how to be successful with a base cow herd in the beef cattle industry. So we're going to jump right into it and help you determine what breed of cattle are best suited for your operation. Before we get into that, we talk about this to help promote uniformity, not only within a herd, but if we can promote uniformity within a herd, within your base cow herd, we promote uniformity within those calves. And you'll hear us talk about uniformity. Is going to be a big word that we talk about in these backgrounding situations with these calves. It's going to lead into the determining a calving season, pulling our bulls, all of that. Another topic for a different day, but we set the stage with the breeds of cattle. Most commonly, we're kind of focusing, zoning in here on the North Texas area. Most commonly, the breeds that most people are going to look at are going to be Angus, Red Angus, Hereford, Charolais, Brangus. We'll have some mainly more towards the east side of our county, venturing into Lamar County. Have some F1 Tiger Stripes that are ran, Simmental, Limousine, and Brahman. And so let's jump right into it, talk about our Angus cattle. Angus are going to be fast maturing. The fat deposition, they're high marbling type cattle. They're hardy. They're docile. They're marketable. All of you know about the certified Angus beef program that's out there. Angus have marketable potential. Cavanese, big term that you hear out there whenever people are looking to buy bulls. I think it's a term personally that I feel like is overused way too much, and I think when we truly want to look at this number, we need to be looking at the Cavanese EPD or birth weight EPDs. But everybody wants to buy a low birth weight Angus bull. You hear that term all the time. You can look across the social media platforms, across cattle marketing websites, and the number one thing you'll see when marketing Angus bull is low birth weight Angus bull. Well, you can take that for what it's worth, because anybody can put that terminology on it. But as a whole, Angus are known for their Cavanese. Excellent maternal instincts as well. You see a lot of people, if they're not purebred Angus type herds. There's going to be here in Fannin County, North Texas area, there's a lot of Angus influenced herds. And we use that term influence, meaning that there's some type of Angus genetics that are going to be within that herd. Red Angus, very similar, just a different color. Red Angus are going to be fast maturing animals. They have the fat deposition, the marbling capabilities, just like our Black Angus cattle do. When we talk about that, if you're not familiar with the marbling, if you're not familiar with the fat deposition, we tie all that into the fast maturing. But we have a days to harvest, a days to slaughter. Whenever we get these cattle in the feedlot. The quicker we can get them there, you hear Blake Bennett talk about carcass weights. The quicker we can get them there, the faster we can get money turned for people on all levels. Faster maturing animals that deposit fat much quicker can get you to that target weight a little faster. Red Angus are definitely docile cattle. They're hardy. You'll hear some people say in herds where there's black cattle and where there's red cattle that on these hot North Texas, southern Oklahoma days, on days where the black Angus cattle are in the ponds, your red Angus cattle will be out grazing. You kind of hear that talked about a lot, which leads us to the next trait is their heat tolerance that they have is red Angus cattle. There's marketability for steers and heifers. Cavanese, just like the Black Angus cattle, and again, the excellent maternal characteristics with the Red Angus. Moving into the Herefords, they're definitely known for their mothering ability and their docility. We think of Herefords, when we think of them, we know them as a hardy type animal. You drive west on 82, the farther you get into West Texas, the more Hereford cattle that you see. It's a little bit tougher ground to work with out there. It's a little tougher climate. It takes a more hardy type animal, and you see a little bit more of the Herefords out there. Unique thing that you have here, you cross them with the Brahman. We all know that a Hereford and a Brahman makes an F1 Tiger Stripe. So it gives you the ability to create heterosis. And then also it gives you the ability to create bald-faced marketable cattle. If you want black baldies or red baldies, you're going to have to incorporate a Hereford to make that happen. Charolais cattle. Charolais is known for their growth, their frame size, and their heat tolerance. You notice a lot on these Angus influenced herds. People will use Charolais bulls. You may be sitting there, if you're not familiar with them, asking why they do that. We can add some growth into these calves when we put Charolais influence into that cow herd. We think of Charolais as being more of a terminal cross breed. We don't think of keeping Charolais cross heifers as much as we do straight influence heifers. Or some of those heifers that have the hybrid vigor, the heterosis in there. Charolais is going to be more of a terminal cross, and we're looking to add pounds when we put a Charolais bull on our cattle. And we've just barely scratched the surface on looking into our breeds of cattle. I've got so much more for you. Those of you that are listening online, that are following the PowerPoint that we're doing, those of you that are listening on the radio program, we've got so much more information to get into, and we're going to get right into that next week here on the Texoma Cattleman. We're going to close out talking about our breeds next week. Then we're also going to get into talking about the different age groups of cattle that you can get into, prices that you're looking at on there, and which ones will work best for your situation. That's going to wrap it up for us here on the Texoma Cattleman this week, sponsored by Fannin Ag Products. Again, we appreciate their sponsorship. We appreciate you, the listener, and I invite you again to tune in next week to the Texoma Cattleman on 95.7 FM The Warrior at 12:05. Thanks a bunch, and we'll be talking with you next week.